watching you parent, and it's not a what you didn't do and you didn't. It's not an attack, and I don't feel attacked. Even if it hurts, I don't feel attacked because that's your truth. So learning not to take it personal, but to hear it, because I went my whole life and I've been hurt and I didn't even know what I was saying. I was running in a circle like that mouse, but all I wanted was someone to hear me.
Welcome to the Momship Mastery podcast, the ultimate destination for moms seeking balance, connection, and growth in their journey through motherhood. I'm your host, master's level therapist and life coach, Andrea Baker. Here at the Momship Mastery, we believe that motherhood is a purposeful journey filled with discoveries, challenges, and countless opportunities, from self-care strategies to relationship building, from spiritual growth to parenting insights. I've got you covered. So if you're ready to embark on this journey with us, hit that subscribe button and let's explore the world of motherhood, relationships, and growth together. Remember, you're not alone on this journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
Hey, hello, Momship Mastery family. So today on the Momship Mastery podcast, we have a special guest. Could you introduce yourself, please, ma'am?
Hello, everyone. I am Patrice. I am Andrea's mother, as she said, and I am privileged to be on this podcast because she gave me no choice.
Well, today we are just going to be diving into a couple of different topics. But the first thing we're going to talk about, or we're just going to start off with, is acknowledging this quote that I saw on Facebook. And it said something that was really profound. It said, as children, we honor our parents by obeying them. As adults, we honor our parents by forgiving them. And that was really profound to me, because the Bible does speak on children obeying their parents, and that's what we're taught. But the forgiveness part as adults is really key also, because that it gives us room to see them as human in so many different aspects of what they did, and understanding the journey that it took for them to do the things that they did. So let's talk about that. What do you think about that quote?
Well, I understand it, especially because given the opportunity to care for my mother in the last months of her life, and during that time, I actually felt like we were closer than we'd ever been. And I know that's because I could see her.
Mm-hmm.
It was to the point of the communication was different, the expectations were different. We were both adults, as you say, and I didn't need her in the same way that I felt like I needed her as a child, or I wasn't looking at the things that she did or did not do for me growing up. So, as you said, forgiveness. But in order to do that, I believe I had to know myself enough to get to that place and then see her.
Yeah.
So that gave us a freedom, and we actually enjoyed each other.
Yeah, and it does. Like you said, it's interesting, because it's like, when you're growing up, it's like, the parents always, I'm not one of your little friends. But then once you actually grow up, your parent becomes a friend to you.
Yeah.
And when we switch that mindset of seeing them in that way, it gives them more grace. You give more grace to your friends than you do your parents, because with your parents, there's the expectation of you are supposed to do this for me. But as a friend, it's like, I see you as human, and I know your struggles. I can see your struggles. I can see your strengths, and I can see those parts of you. And I think it's easier to forgive your friend in that way, or to forgive your parents when they're looking at it from that standpoint. And then you get to know each other in a new way, and learn different things about them. And I've always loved asking questions, as you know.
Of course.
So, but I think it opens up a new journey and a new area for me to ask questions and think of, I have like a broader perspective when I ask you questions, opposed to a child that felt this way or that way, or mad at mama, angry at mama, sad at mama, all these things. But as an adult, that's also a mother, and just realizing and accepting that we do the best we can. We do what we know to do. So we have to learn and unlearn all these other things. But
Exactly.
it's a journey.
Yeah. And like you said, I don't believe you can really understand the struggle of motherhood until you are in that. And then with that understanding, the dynamics are completely different. I love watching you and Sam and the way you parent. But I also know that wouldn't have work for me in that same manner, because the majority of the time it was me trying to figure out dinner, school, work, all of those aspects. And the neglect comes from neglecting myself, because I never had time to pause to learn myself. As now I feel like I have a freedom, and I can actually say I like myself today, and I can't even understand or explain that comes with that. So because I'm liking myself, I know that helps me to be a better grandparent. And I've also thought of the different things that I would love to do with my grandchildren, especially my oldest, because I've never been in this place before to be able to do that.
Yeah, that is. And a lot of times, in the hustle and bustle of it, like I know our situations look a lot different. And I remember the way you worked and how you were busy, and we always had food on the table. I knew that you would do. And I guess even then I didn't realize the toll that it actually would take on you until I had to start doing those things.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is a lot. And I'm definitely blessed to be able to have someone to kind of feedback on and, share that with. And sometimes that look a little messy, but other times it was a learning experience for me to navigate that space. But honoring the fact that a lot of moms have to do it alone. And a lot of times they don't feel like they can take a moment to breathe or take a moment to step back. What type of ways do you feel would have helped you to breathe? Like in those moments that you just needed a minute, how could you encourage others that may be in that situation and may say, I don't want to wait until, my kids are grown. I really want to learn myself now, but I don't have time. I don't have the space. What would you suggest to them?
I never knew the importance of mental health or the possibility of taking medication to help me maneuver mental health, or to help me address the areas that I needed to heal in. Because like you said, the hustle and bustle, I was never taught that. We were saying you just do what happens here stays here, and you deal with it. But in reality, I didn't deal with it. I suppressed it. I wanted to escape it. I didn't know that I could break down, because if I broke down, then everything's gonna fall apart. Who's gonna take care of everything? So even to the place of being sick, it's like many a times you grin and bear it, and no, I don't want to get up, but I can hear my child in another room and she's hungry, or whatever. I believe I did what I could do when I could, but now I understand the resources. I didn't know all these different resources are available, that you do have hotlines, not necessarily for suicide or things like that, but someone that you can actually talk to that would have not judgment, not judging. I didn't do it with the church, even though I was active in the church. It would be a sign of weakness to say, look, I'm falling apart. Or we never had somebody take my children for, for a day and just let me, taking a bubble bath was a luxury. And even then you guys came in there. So it was never, it's like, okay, I'm escaping, y'all gonna take me away. But in absence, I hear you guys out there. So I'm not gone, so, but I appreciate that, because like we learn and we do better. And I would recommend to anyone those moments, or to other people, to be a help. Like I would love to help someone who, I'm not a child person as far as to take, I'm not gonna say I'm learning, because I didn't have the privilege of just relaxing with you guys, or if I did, it was always with another purpose in mind. I'm getting you ready for bed. And we had a thing, or when I remember playing camping out, because the lights were turned off. I just didn't want you guys to know all of what I was going through. Because you used to say, I remember you saying you guys never went to the grocery store with me. Because no, I couldn't go through that. I want this and I want that to say we can't get that. But the main thing is not to feel guilty for needing time for yourself, because it's necessary. And then I didn't want my children to wait till they're 40-something to realize I'm a person. I didn't know myself. I didn't know that I'm a person with my own ideals and my own feelings and my own, because they were suppressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as now a grandmother of 4, right? Yeah, 4 grandchildren now. And how does that look differently? Because I don't know that I had an expectation of you as a grandmother. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how you wanted to show up as a grandparent.
Right.
We had that conversation, and I never really asked because growing up, I was like, I knew my mama wasn't the one to do kids. But how do we make that transition from my experience of you as a mother to your experience as a grandmother?
I think a prime example was when we were all at Applebee's, you and I and Alicia, and Ava was having a moment, and for me to get her and say, okay, let's go take a walk. I saw you guys like, oh my God, Mama's gonna go ballistic because I didn't care where we were. I'm gonna do it right then and there. And yet to know and take her outside and shake, like we can start our day over. Let's just shake. I think being at peace with me helps me to show up as a better grandparent. And also, I get the time. They're going with you. And I know, but I can show up different for them because I'm different. And you guys making a joke of, well, yeah, Mom would have knocked us out or something. That's how we start our day over.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is different. And I would love to get to that place of retirement so that I can, especially with my other grands, to spend that time. Like this vacation or this, I would have never been able to do that. And I remember you saying that my mother was your friend. And so just taking that because she could. She was free enough to do that.
Yeah.
Or even when you think of field trips or all that and who had to go.
Right, the grandparents.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm grateful to be able to be in that place, even though you guys are so far away. This visit has shown me that I could do better, even with maintaining contact with all my grands. Because I do want them to be my friends. They can be my friends. I didn't want you guys to be my friends unless you do what I said and don't ask questions. And
I didn't do that well.
Exactly. So, but that's because I didn't have answers.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't have time to come up with answers. I had too many other things that took priority.
Yeah.
And that's sad. But it's true. It's like you do the best you can with what you have at that time. And
so now they can ask you all the questions.
Exactly. And if I don't know the answer, I know you got to Google or AI or something. I can find the answers. Or just like when my grandson said he wanted a dinosaur robot, I'm going to find that. Whatever. And Now, if you guys had said, I would have said, you're being ridiculous. You're not getting well. A dinosaur can't be a robot. That would have been my answer.
I would have been your answer. You definitely said that.
I would have. No. Andrea could be ridiculous. Dinosaurs and dinosaurs, robots and robots. But see, that would have been my answer, and you know that.
So there's a switch that happens from parent to grandparent.
I don't know when it happened or how it happened, but yes. And that's why my grands can do no wrong in that way. Yeah.
Well, see, okay, because, I have a very emotional daughter.
Yes, you do.
Strong. She words and she uses her words and a lot of times those actions. And I guess initially I was like, oh my gosh, my mama gonna see this and she gonna say this child has gone ballistic. We don't raise her right, and she all of these things. And it's a little shocking to see you remain calm through that in certain areas or certain ways, because it's a lot, and it can be a lot. And
honestly, she shows me what you were feeling. She expresses what you had to suppress, or maybe you were expressing it in anger, or it came out a different way. And she has the freedom to feel everything she feels, which is amazing to me. And she teaches me, but I also know I have my own boundaries. So even, when she says, well, gee, Mom, that's why we're different. Okay. Well, you take a little different butt over there and I'm going to, because I'm still learning and growing as well. But I learn from them, questions, scenarios, all of that, even to the place of my youngest renaming me. Where I would have been adamant about no.
Mom.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're Mimi. I'll be whatever it is. Whatever you say I am, I'm okay with that. And I am.
Yeah.
But I do And I had to learn not to feel guilty
Mhm.
about what I couldn't do for you
Mhm.
that I can do for them,
Mhm.
because it looks completely different. And she can go. I mean, I'm amazed at what all comes out of that little body, but she expresses it so well. And it's like, oh my God, I wish someone would have heard me.
Mhm.
Someone would have allowed me to say,
Yeah.
I have all this in me and it has to come out.
Yeah.
Because it will come out. And mine came out in,
Yeah, we figured out other ways.
yeah, substances, husband, something. It was
Yeah.
gonna come out. And I think that's good in that. But also when it gets where overwhelming for me, I can leave. You know. But I do, it's different. And I think they know my tones or anything, it's not like I'm a walk over Gina, but they do know.
Yeah.
They know what they can do and cannot do with me. So.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that you felt like I would harm them,
Mhm.
and I think at first you were like, and I was like, if I can't discipline your children, then I can't keep them.
Mhm.
But I wanted you to trust me enough to know I would never hurt them, but I was in a place of, if it was too much for me, I know how to say, Uncle.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like for as far as like the discipline went, the thing we had to understand was that our definitions were different.
Right.
Because we discipline, it just looks a lot different. I know this to be true because when they're out, they know how to act, right? When they're with other people, they don't do these things, but when they're home in their safe space, then they just all crap happens and it just falls apart. But sometimes I have to check and like, all right, let me make sure, are they, following rules? Are they respectful? Are they this? And most of the time I get feedback that they always are. I was adamant on me being able to think through what discipline would look like for them.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how to convey that with you.
And I think you understand the support systems are completely different than, or you can tell when you get to that place of, I'm a snap.
Yep.
So imagine me wanting to snap.
And not having a way
to snap the outlet of it. And so it is different. You can go to the spa or, or whatever it is that you need to do to exhale. Opposed to knowing I have to keep this going.
Keep it going.
So yeah. And also, believe it or not, as chaotic as it was our home, but that was a safe place in a way because I heard so many people say, oh, she's this way. And I'm like, who are you talking about? You're not talking about my child because I know I can't get her to clean her room, but oh, she helps and she does this and she does that. And so, outside of opposed to how you act at home, I remember you running away several times and I let you. But I watched you, whether you knew it or not, as you walked down the street and it's like, Lord, go get this child because
packing a Jello in a toy.
Yes.
Ready to go.
You laughed. You laughed. And I was like, okay. Yeah.
So how do you feel impacts our relationships with our children and for you with your grandchildren?
I think faith is mandatory. Faith gives hope, that even with all the mistakes or the errors that were made, there's always hope to do better. And faith lets me know my children are safe and my grandchildren are safe. I believe that with everything in me. I think one of the only or the best thing I ever gave was, you guys knew I prayed. Even though it may have been, but I know you guys knew that you could hear me walk on the floor. Yeah. There's no way you could be over here without faith because I would have been hospitalized. I mean, if I did not have faith and believe God that you were safe in Kuwait, they would have locked me up somewhere because I believe God. I trust him in that you're safe and that you're well and you're growing and you're on assignment. I believe that.
Yeah.
And then he reminds me, so am I. So I understand. I'm growing as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So even though we have a legacy of a whole bunch of other stuff, I love that we have a strong legacy of faith.
Yeah.
And while we talked about how that looked different along each way, like we have understood that we needed relationship personally with God.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can pass on to the kids. And
Mhm.
it was funny, the first night you got here, what did Manny say? We had to do what?
Pray.
In a circle.
That's right. Come on, Gima. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
And just watching him and the way he loves them, you know,
Mhm.
to know it's okay. I didn't take it personal if he
Mhm.
wasn't ready to hug me or if
Mhm.
he's not ready to,
Mhm.
because it's on his time and I can wait.
Mhm.
And now it's like, it's wonderful
Mhm.
because it's real and it's genuine. It's not
Mhm.
forced.
Mhm.
I just want it to be that way
Yeah.
because I understand with my own mother.
Mhm.
And we had a tumultuous
Mhm.
relationship, but the best thing she ever said was God didn't have grandkids.
Mhm.
I didn't understand what that meant,
Mhm.
but now I understand you have to have a personal relationship.
Mhm.
I'm his child, you're his child. So that was a gift.
Yeah, and I think that's always something that brings us together. It doesn't matter where we are or what's going on. Like we know before we leave, especially when it's all of us, you know, my sister and my brother and everybody, like we know that everybody go through, everybody prays, everybody, you know, even the baby, we
And
don't
somebody's getting the tissue.
somebody, and that's, I'm like, I remember when I was the baby in the circle getting the tissue, and now
Yeah.
I'm a whole adult and I don't really know
You're
how-
adulting.
Yeah, okay. But you know, to see my kids and my niece and my nephew do that and just like this is full circle. This is like a full circle moment. It's
And-
amazing.
Yeah. And if you think about even with my father, or, you know, just learning that, not knowing they were teaching that, but we always saw it. It was nothing that you pray in secret, or, I mean, you do, but we always knew that was something, a part of what we were supposed to do. So we might have not done anything else right, but we knew to pray, and that's a precious gift. It is.
So, as a grandparent, what are your hopes for your children and your grandchildren?
Okay, right now, I think because of this time I've had here, especially, I want to build a better relationship with my oldest grand.
Mhm.
I need to know her,
Mhm.
and with technology and everything else that we have now, I can do that not only with her, but with my others.
Mhm.
I think, like you said at the beginning, we're at a place as far as watching you parent, and it's not what you didn't do and you didn't.
Mhm.
It's not an attack,
Mhm.
and I don't feel attacked. Even if it hurts,
Yeah.
I don't feel attacked
Mhm.
because that's your truth.
Mhm.
And I had to learn, like with my mother, I remember us having a heart-wrenching conversation. I said, Mama, that's your stuff.
Mhm.
And so being able to separate that, you have a right to feel whatever it is you feel. But even when it hurts me, it's not an attack. It's because it's your stuff and you have to, like Monty said, get it out. So learning not to take it personal, but to hear it, because I went my whole life not being heard and I didn't even know what I was saying. I was running a circle like that mouse, but all I wanted was someone to hear me, but I didn't know that's what I wanted. So one of my greatest gifts, I think, that I've gotten is I know how to listen. And even when it feels like it's cutting deep inside of me, I just want to listen. And then I get to the place of I can separate it. What's mine, what I can do something about, what I can change, and what's yours, or whoever, you know. And that doesn't lessen me or you. So like you said, as adults, we learn how to forgive and we learn how to see as a person. I don't think you saw me as a person. I was just your mother.
Yeah, and I saw that when I was scared to have a daughter because I was like, Lord, we don't know how to do this.
We don't.
You know, and this is scary, but I know we have the desire to change it, but how? And I was like, well, you know, my folks believe in going to school, so let me go to school because I need to figure out how to make these relationships work in a different way.
Right.
And I learned so much about myself, and like you were talking about how to separate it, how to separate what was and what is, and versus what I'm feeling and what happened and all those things, and learning how to speak that in a way that's not violent, that's not attacking, but just stating what you feel, like you said, because a lot of times we don't know, we don't bring words to it. And what you said was like, when you see Monty and her full self and her emotions, and you were like, you felt like that was kind of how I felt on the inside and suppressed. Like I had the same sentiment. It's like, I can't explain how I felt, but I feel like it looked like
It
that.
looks like that. Right. And I remember even my oldest saying, was like, how can I get that out how can I discipline the me out of my child? She is doing and saying the things I wish I had been able to do inside.
It's conflicting because it's like, there's still that little girl inside of me, and it's speaking, and it's hurting, or it's like connecting to that feeling, because it's like you felt like that too. So I'm like trying to balance how do I respond to this to correct this behavior or to respond to this behavior versus this little part of me that's like, man, I wish I was able to feel this, or I wish I was able to do this and have someone respond to me in that way.
Exactly. And like you said, with the education, I remember, and I think that's why my longing is for communication, because my mother didn't talk to me. I got a book, from everything. So that was the answer. We never had the intimacy of sitting down and saying, your body's going through these changes. This is what's going on. I had a whole book I had a set of encyclopedias for every stage of my life.
Wow.
From puberty till, okay, you're going to have a cycle, you're going to go through all. I was terrified, but I could read on what the process was, because she was not going to discuss that. And then I remember asking her, Mom, who hurt you? Because that was closed off. And that was, and I had to respect that as I became an adult to understand. She would say it's too hard. And learning that everybody can't do what we're doing here, because one, we don't know how, and two, it's very painful.
It is. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's you don't want to do it. It's all of it.
It's all of that. But then when you get
over it,
you say, oh my God. And I always say, if I just address this thing, I never have to do it in the same way. I'm going to do things, but I don't have to do that thing, this thing, because someone hurt me. And I could feel it instead of suppressing it. I don't really feel that way.
Exactly.
I told myself many times, you don't feel that way because that's not acceptable.
Right.
But money don't care.
No, she doesn't.
I don't tell you. It's in there and I have to get it out. So.
And when she's doing that, I try to make sure I separate it. Because like I said, even though it's not an attack on me, like some of the stuff, it's like painful. You guys don't listen to me. And I'm like, I can't just say she doesn't feel like that. I'm like, she probably does. She really feels like what she's saying isn't being heard. And that could be because, this and this and this, but to listen to what she's saying and to see what we can do about it, and how much of this is developmental, how much of this is because she didn't get what she wanted because her brother was aggravated.
Exactly.
And I've had to learn to separate those different things of what can we do moving forward.
Because we are master manipulators and we know how to, we've learned that as well. We were taught it. So
it's scary. I'll be looking at my child. I'm like, Jesus, she's only 6. What is happening? Right?
But I love it. I love watching it.
Yeah, but we were able to, like, in the school that she went to, they were big on like emotions and things like that. So she's known that since she was 6 months old. They taught her that. And so they had to teach me that too. I was like, I don't know how this works. So we had to learn that from outside sources. So that's another thing I try to remind people of. This isn't just something I woke up and was like, I know how to do.
Right. And see, therapy was only for crisis. We had to be everything got right. Instead of learning that it was for improvement or to be heard or to just
have a space
to get it out, a safe place. So understanding that, and now you're doing that.
Yeah.
So I just I can
Yeah.
sit back and watch,
Mhm.
but at least I try to. It doesn't work that way, but
but
like while we're having this conversation. So. But I am grateful that out of all of it, we do have the education or the knowledge and the willingness
Mhm.
to explore it even more, even when it hurts.
It does.
And so to anyone else is take that time and not feel selfish or guilty. I learned I'm a very selfish person. Today I am,
Mhm.
because I know if I don't take care or look at me, I'm going to spiral out. And I know what that looks like for me. So I know how to pause.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's ugly. I have to retreat or isolate, and I don't have that contact with people because I get stuck on what I'm really feeling.
Mhm.
And I don't want you telling me what I feel.
Mhm.
I need to figure out what I feel
Right. You
because
need a safe space to figure it out, not a space for people to tell you. Because it
exactly,
takes you back to the place.
to the place of not being able to have a
Mhm.
voice.
Mhm.
So that cycle for myself,
Mhm.
learning what do you really feel,
Mhm.
what's really going on with you.
Mhm.
And sometimes it'll take me to a place I thought was healed, I thought I
Mhm.
dealt with. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, you took a piece of it. You
Mhm.
still have to go back in
Still.
there. And surgery without anesthesia is awful. And that's what I'm like, Lord, why do I have to go through this?
Yeah.
I thought I dealt with it.
Yeah.
No,
It's layers.
layers.
It's layers.
The onion, peeling it off.
Mhm. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I just showed you that part of it, but we haven't finished working on that.
And learning that he loves us enough that we couldn't deal with all of it at once.
Mhm.
There's no way.
I'm grateful.
There's no way. Without being in jail or locked up somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone would have been,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
It's a process.
It is. It is. And it's one that we all have to go through and go on. And it's helpful to have people that see you and that are able to walk with you on that journey when you need someone to walk with you, help uplift you when you need
Yes.
someone to help you, and just be able to just be support. Like that's one of the reasons I talk about community so
Yes.
much, because you gotta
Have my
find your
people.
people, because that's, like I said, that's why we created this space. This is why I got put it on my heart,
Mhm.
because I just know so many women are isolated. So many women feel like there's no other options, there's no other choices. And especially like watching and reflecting on the women in our own family and how, I know we all have our individual struggles and we all have things, but not knowing how to help or feeling like, oh, I'm too close to this, I can't
Right.
really help in the way that I want to help. And that can be hard, but I know that we each need our own.
Yeah. And I know that's an area that I have to work on.
Mhm.
I also have to confess to you, I started listening to to Mom, and I never got through the first one
Mhm.
because I wasn't in a place to not take it personal.
Mhm.
And I was afraid
Mhm.
of what I'd hear or,
Mhm.
oh my God, she's going to just attack me.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't prepared
Mhm.
for it. So sitting here speaking, even I'm amazed at how God has made it calm and peaceful.
I think that's what we always feel like. And I think that was a reservation I had because I never wanted it to feel like an attack. I just knew that my truth needed to be expressed in this
Right.
way because there was a healing process that had to take place for myself. And I know that God was using that as a way, like he always combined my experiences with my education in a way to help me navigate these spaces for other people and help them to navigate those spaces. But when he actually was telling me that this was supposed to be a thing, I was like, I don't want to do that because it felt too naked.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
and I'm like, anytime, and I think that's with anybody, whether you write or whether you are a public figure or anything, when you have to begin to talk about your own stuff, your own experiences, it always feels like somebody's going to take this wrong.
Right.
And that's not what I mean by it. And it's like being in a space where you can say, I'm open to talk about it. That's why I had to come to a place of like, I'm open to have a conversation about it. If you want to talk about it, if it's something really like big, we're going to talk about it before I release it. I remember when I was blogging and I was like, hey, I'm writing this one. You should probably read it before I release it. But I try to do it in that way because I don't want it to feel like an attack, but it's some of those things, it's time for it to get out because we don't just experience these things for ourselves. Sometimes that's very important for us to learn through them, but there's always a lesson in it. There's always
Mhm.
somebody that it can help, whether it's one person, you know.
Right.
I always want to be ready to be used when he says
When
it,
he says
even
it.
though I don't want to do it for real.
And you said it's always a lesson in learning that if we don't get that lesson or get it out, we're going to repeat it. And we don't want it. I wouldn't want it to be repeated in my grands or, I think I'm extremely blessed that they never have to see all of the things that you have to see
Yeah.
because I'm in a completely different place. And
Exactly.
I think we talked about yesterday as far as when we go through something, we think of it as negative, but now we see that it's the purpose in it and you're going through it. It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've learned I can stay right here because it's not time for me to move.
It's still
Yeah.
processing.
I'm still processing. And we're supposed to enjoy the journey. We are, even though it hurts and all that, we take the pieces that we can enjoy it. Just look at it.
Yeah, but like you said, there are pieces that are gonna hurt. There are pieces that we don't want to really relive or live one time or live this. Man, this is crazy. I don't want to do this. But if it's for a purpose, then you need to learn what it means, so we don't see it repeated in these cycles, or we're missing the message in what's happening, or we just refuse to be still. That's for me.
You're right.
Refusing to be still to reflect, because we are doers and we are people that I think in a sense we thrive in doing in motion, but we also need to learn to sit down and
because we use the motion as a defense also because it keeps us from dealing and stuff. It's like, okay, I can be super busy, but you still have something that you have to be still. And I learned several times, God will sit you down. If you don't stop, he'll stop you. So it's like you have a lesson, you have to be still and see it. We have work to do, but we're also a work in progress ourselves. So understanding, sometimes you have to be still. He'll separate you, he'll sit you down when he wants to talk to you.
So you can get clear on what it is, and he can deal with the hurt and those things that's under them other layers, because maybe this next place you're going is going to reveal some of those things, and you want to make sure that you're ready.
And then it uncovers the dreams or the aspirations or the things that you thought were gone.
Exactly. Because, man, listen, it's like, you're like, oh man, I forgot I wanted to do that. Or wow, this is full circle. A lot of the full circle moments, I always saw myself helping kids. And I remember I read a journal article and I was like, I want to be a child psychologist. I remember feeling that way. And while that's not my sole focus, I help work with families mostly, but it's still full circle.
Because I know at that time you felt unheard and you probably were, so you felt like you were experiencing all these things, so you didn't want another child to go through what you had gone through. And I know for myself, learning to thine own self be true, it's like, how can I do that if I don't know who I am or know what's in there? It was so many things I thought, like you said, that was dead or gone or buried so deeply that we're afraid to look, or we're taught it's wrong to take that time for yourself to discover yourself. It's wrong to enjoy the things that brought you joy, simple things. And it's like I purposely would sabotage. It's like, because I don't deserve that. I don't deserve that. But if I'm honest, I don't deserve most things. And that's why God says
Grace.
yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you did good.
Okay, I can breathe now. Thank you. You owe me big time.
Well, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Momship Mastery podcast. The audience will be looking forward to what comes from next.
From me next? You were. Oops. I love you.
All right. All right, guys. Well, that's all today. Well, thank you, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Bye.
That's all for today, and I hope that you're feeling inspired to navigate your ships with grace and authenticity. If you enjoyed this episode, I want you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a mom who may just need a little support and encouragement. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Momship Mastery, and those links are also in the show notes. Before we go, here's my little reminder. You are an incredible mom, and you have the power to nurture your inner well-being and create meaningful connections and relationships. Embrace the journey, cherish the moments, and continue to thrive in your momship journey. Until next